back to Morning Cup. I am so ecstatic today because I have Trista Polo with me, and I love Trista. She's amazing. She has over 15 years of experience working with coaches and coaching entrepreneurs and business owners. Her clients are CEOs, solopreneurs, and network marketing business owners. She's a speaker, trainer, and host for podcasts, video, and live events around the entire United States. Her mission is to help people win whatever winning looks like to them. Through transformational conversations with self and others, she helps people access their true power. Welcome, Trista. Thanks for being here today.
So excited. Thank you so much for having me. Oh, I can't wait to dive in.
Same. I cannot wait either. So let's dive in right now. Let's talk about your journey. How did you get here today? I know you've been through a lot and everything, but if you can kind of summarize your journey thus far.
I would be happy to. Yeah, it's a 51-year journey, so we won't start way back at the beginning.
All right.
I have been an entrepreneur for probably almost 20 years now, if you add it all up. Mm-hmm. And it really started because I had a lot of jobs that didn't treat me very well. Let me say that I was treated well, but I was asked to put my integrity on the line for my paycheck more than once and by more than one manager in more than one company. I also found that because I work really hard, because that's just how I was raised. It's my personality. I'm not bragging. It's just kind of like who I was raised to be. But that's not seen very positively by other people vying for the same promotions and bonuses and things. And I found that a lot of times I'd be undermined by coworkers through no fault of my own, other than just trying to do the best job I could and show up my best every day. So I decided to go into business for myself, and it started as a real estate appraisal business. I got a mentor. I took all the tests. I got certified by the state of New York. And can I just tell you, I'm a gregarious, outgoing, loud people person. This was more data. Like when I'm in somebody's house appraising their house, I can't talk to them or I'll miss something important. So it's a very cerebral and closed off kind of thing, but I loved it. I loved the work. I loved being able to help people get into their homes without all the stress of being a realtor or a mortgage person. And I really enjoyed it. It paid well, and I got to work out of my house in my car. My days were always different. Like I really caught the entrepreneur bug from that. The challenge was that I was scared to take on the liability of having other people work with me because my license would then be at risk if they made mistakes. So I was a solopreneur, but I thought I own a job. I'm all set. I mean, I own a business. That's what I thought. I own a business. Then I listened to Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, and I actually realized that I owned a job because I didn't have any employees. I didn't have any leverage. I couldn't walk away. I was on the hook for all of it, but I didn't mind because it paid well and I loved my work until the real estate market crashed in 2008, and it became a lot harder to make the money I was used to. I was working twice as hard for probably 4 or 5 times as many companies. And I was making about a half to a third of what I was used to with more work, more time, more effort. So I could see the trajectory that was not positive. But I had been approached and I had evaluated an online company with a lot of leverage, structure, training, teamwork. Like there was everything that my business was missing. And I'd started it like back in the background. You'd call it a side hustle today. It ended up replacing my appraisal income. It's been my primary income for the last 15 years. I'm so grateful for it. I still get to work out of my house and in my car. The pandemic, I actually flourished, and I'm able to help people create income online just like I do, and which is what I do now. I'm a coach for entrepreneurs. I do work with managers and employees as well, but mostly I work with entrepreneurs, CEOs, and I help them take advantage of the online and get their mindset right so they're not in the way of their own success.
Absolutely. I mean, that is just, there's so much there to unpack, but I love that you really focused in on what made sense for you, and the market crashing in 2008, it really shifted things for you, and you've had that success, and with the pandemic and how that shifted so many people's incomes and what they were doing, and being able to really support support others, especially in the entrepreneurial space and business owners really being able to thrive. And I'm curious, just with business in general, when a lot of times people are like, well, I might hear the word no, or they're building their business, because you surpass that. You continue to move forward, even if you might have heard a no or anything along those lines. But I'm curious, how did you embrace the power of no and yes in business, life, and relationships when you were continuing to build your business?
Well, let me first say, I hate the word no. I don't like saying no because I grew up a people pleaser. I don't like hearing no because I grew up with a very low self-worth and self-esteem and confidence. So no for me was like this big, huge mountain to climb. And it has been a journey that is wrapped up in my journey with self-worth as well. There's an amazing book I want to recommend. It's pretty popular. It's been read by a lot of people. In case you haven't heard of it, or if this is your reminder to go back and reread it, anybody that wants to create a relationship with no that's positive, because no is not a bad word. If you're not attached to the answer no, if you're not attached to giving or receiving no, it's just a word, and it's only 2 tiny little letters. It's 1 syllable. It's nothing. It's small. But we put attachment of what the no means, what it says about our worth, what it says about us. It's like we take it as a rejection. At least I do. And so this book is amazing. It's allegorical, which I love. It's a quick read, which I love. It's called Go for No. It's by Richard Fenton and Andrea Waltz. And I had the opportunity, actually, you and I had the opportunity to interview her, Andrea, on Clubhouse a while back. And so this is based on a true story. Richard was working as a salesman in a suit shop, and he had an exchange with his manager, with actually, I think it was the owner of the company, that he realized that he let no stop him from seeing the potential in things. And so he wrote this book, they wrote it together, and it really changed my life about the 50th time I read it, because I really was very resistant to no. So I would just keep listening to it over and over again. No is actually the step into yes. No is not the end, it's the beginning. When someone says no, if we have good follow-up skills, it allows us to just get an idea of what are they saying no to. I spoke to a great salesperson. He does HR consulting sales, so he works business to business. And he said that when he goes into a meeting with a potential customer, potential client, he always says, what is it that would cause you to say no to what I'm going to offer you today? He does that before he even offers it, because he wants to know what he's working with. If he knows your objections in advance, he can work with those and offer responses to those objections, thereby canceling them and making the sale more likely, making you more likely to see value in his offer. So no is really on the way to yes. And when we can embrace that it's just a word, it's part of the process, and it doesn't mean anything about us personally, we can get a lot more results. And then the yeses really come from the follow-up. It takes 7 to 12 touches to create a final transaction. And I'm not in sales training, but I'll say if you own a business, that business is making money because products and services are moving to the end consumer. Like that's how it works. The consumer is a business, a person, whatever. Right. You need to be able to use those follow-up skills to get to the point where a person's willing to part with their hard-earned cash, especially today with prices being so high and only going up. So embrace the no, get practice with it. The more times you hear it, the less it stings. And I would say definitely read that book if you haven't, and then take on a challenge of getting no 100 times. Like just try and get no until you get 100 of them. That's true. And you'll be surprised how many yeses you receive along the way.
Oh, that's such a good example. There actually was a TED Talk about this guy. I forgot his name. I'm escaping. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but he was focused on getting 100 no's. So it just sparked that thought. I'm like, oh yeah, good reminder for me too.
And he has a whole YouTube video about his experiences of going up to strangers. And I think in the TED Talk, and I'm sure you can put his name in the show notes for people that want to watch it, but he talks about the fact that as he started to get no's, he started to look for ways around the no know. And he created opportunities that didn't even occur to him. Like there was one where he asked a guy, can I plant this in your backyard? And like just some random guy knocked on the guy's house and the door and said, hey, can I plant this in your backyard? And the owner was like, no, you can't, for whatever reason. But the woman across the street, my neighbor, is looking for things for her landscaping.
Wow.
So go ask her. And he did, and he was able to plant it in her backyard. So and this is kind of like underlining what I'm saying, the no can lead to the yes.
Absolutely. Opportunities are there and available. It's just being able to put yourself out there, especially if you're starting a business or going through the thick of it and just feeling like, oh, I don't know if I can keep going, but getting creative. And that's a beautiful thing. But I want to go back to what you said about self-worth. I know you are a very powerful manifester. I know this personally. But what is the power of self-worth and the resources that you've used to grow yours as well? Because I know you had said you had struggled previously with it.
Yeah, that's a huge journey for me, and I'm still on it every single day. I think the fact that I'm still here proves that I have more work to do. We're all works in progress, right? I definitely have struggled with my self-worth for sure. In fact, I used to think if, and this is in the last 15 years, so this is a journey that I'm continuing to be on, but as early as 5 years ago, I would think to myself, I'm with an amazing company. I have an amazing opportunity, but I'm not the right person to share it. So I should probably just point people to people that they would be good, leaders that they could work with. Because who am I to help anyone succeed? Who am I to raise up anybody's journey? And that's when I realized that, we are perfect just as we are, because we are made in whatever you call that image. If you say it's God's image, I don't want to get into certain belief systems here because it works in whatever you think, but we were put on this earth for a reason, and we're each unique and we have our own special gifts. And if we deny those gifts, then they'll never be seen. There's some great stuff about that. And one thing I'm thinking of is, who was the really famous choreographer? I'm not going to remember it. Yeah, but she's a really famous choreographer. And what she said to somebody she was working with once is, you have unique talents. And if you don't give them to the world, then the world will never see them. And who knows what could have been created as a result of your contribution if you'd only shared it. And I've heard this said in many different ways through lots of books and videos that I've exposed myself to. Self-worth is a journey, and it's a self-created journey. Nobody can tell you you're worthy. If 100 people tell me I'm worthy and I think they're all wrong, they don't really know me like I do. They don't know what's going on in my head. They don't know what's true in my heart. They don't know all the demons in my closet. The self-worth journey can only happen within. And so there's a saying that actually my dad gifted me. It came to him in a meditation, and he wrote it down and he gifted it to me. And I'm going to gift it to you. And it's, I deserve all the best life has to offer. And I was created with the ability to achieve it. And when he first said this to me, I thought about it. First of all, I couldn't even get my head around the words. I was like, wait, what did you say? Wait, let me write that down. Wait, what was the second part? Like, I couldn't even really hear it. Then I started just reading it out loud, not believing a word of it. I deserve all the best life has to offer, and I was created with the ability to achieve it. And I would just read it over and over again. And then I started to use it as a mantra, like as a shield. Whenever those negative thoughts would come in, those doubts about my abilities and my power and my greatness would come in. No, I deserve all the best life has to offer, and I was created with the ability to achieve it. Like it would be like my Wonder Woman bracelet.
Yes.
And then I started to own it. Hold on a minute. I deserve all the best life has to offer, and I was created with the ability to achieve it. So it's definitely a journey over a few months. I create a lot of opportunity for my brain to transform with the books that I read, the videos that I watch, the audios that I listen to. My mother shares my Audible account, And she always says, can't you listen to some novels? They always have to be about being greater than, what you are now and expanding. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm into, because that's my journey here. My journey is to expand and transform to the greatest version of myself that I can be. And it is an ongoing journey for sure.
There's a lot of things and a lot of steps when it comes to that journey, because I don't think it's ever just a standstill. It's constantly evolving and growing. And speaking of just like self-worth, I know you have an amazing brand. I Woke Up Awesome. Could you share a little bit? I know, repping the brand. Can you share a little bit more about that? I know you have a podcast and so many other things too, but we would love to hear more about that.
Well, it started because I've done all this work. I have so much to share. I have so many lessons and so much knowledge that I can pay forward. And so I was going to start a YouTube channel. And then I said, well, I'm too heavy. Maybe I should lose some weight first. My clothes aren't good enough. I've got to look really professional. I got to get new makeup. My makeup's kind of running out. My hair's not done. I always had a reason to wait. Mm-hmm. And then I realized those were all just me avoiding starting. Because again, who am I to be the one to share these journeys and lessons and wisdom? Mm-hmm. And then I had this epiphany. I do a lot of writing. I do journaling, stream of consciousness journaling. It's from The Artist's Way. It's called Morning Pages. Highly, highly recommend. And I've done it for years. And it's just taking, a notebook and writing for 20 minutes stream of consciousness and seeing what comes out. And something that came out in one of those writings was, you are perfect just as you are, with nothing to be fixed or changed. You woke up already awesome. Mm-hmm. All this other stuff are just excuses and resistances and reasons to stop and wait and not take action. You're letting your fear run your life. And that's not what you have learned all these years. So you're awesome just as you are. And now is the time. And so you can go to my YouTube channel. It's still there as of the recording of this interview. The intro video is me explaining this concept. And my hair wasn't combed and I'm wearing whatever shirt I'd worn to bed. And I think I have mascara under my eyes. I really took it to the absolute, last degree you could, that I'm awesome just as I am right now with nothing to change, including washing my face.
I love it. It's just a testament. It's a testament to waking up awesome just as we are, nothing to change or fix. And it really goes true to just who we are from the inside out. And that's what I think is so important. It's learning to love ourselves from the inside out and just being able to model that as well, because everybody is different, but it doesn't make us less than or anything along those lines. It just shows how unique we are. And what you were talking about earlier, it's just, we all have a purpose in this world. We might not know what it is right this second, but we really do. And everybody matters in this world. And I think that's kind of a testament to what your brand is all about. And I think it's so important to recognize that, because we are all different in all walks of life, but it's really just understanding that aspect, that it really comes from within. We can read everything we want, we can do all the work, but it starts from the inside and how we truly feel internally, and that will exude outside of us as well. So I think that is the key. And it really goes back to kind of just being able to talk it to ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, that inner dialogue. I would love for you to speak a little bit more about that, because I know we've talked about that in the past as well, but how we talk to ourselves.
Well, I saw a video recently that apparently some percentage of people, a pretty high percentage, do not have an inner voice talking to them all the time. What? And my inner voice said, what are you talking about? That can't be right.
I'm here.
I'm here. Don't forget about me. It's a nasty little creature sometimes. Mm-hmm. I took a course, and the homework we were given at the end of the weekend, it was like a 3 or 4 day program. And that what we were told to do going forward was, for the next 30 days, no complaining, no justifying, and no excuses. Mm-hmm. And I thought, no problem. I'm like the most positive person you'll ever meet. I always have a smile on my face. I'm always happy, go lucky. This is going to be a piece of cake. And they gave you the little rubber band, to pull to remind yourself. So I'm at home and I'm hungry and I have this pantry with lots of food in it. And so I go to the pantry and I open the doors and I'm standing there and I'm just kind of looking like, what do I want to eat? What am I in the mood for? What am I hungry for? And all of a sudden, this inner monologue, you don't deserve to eat. You're too fat as it is. Everything in here is going to make you fatter. And then, of course, it kind of spirals in unto itself. And it goes off the rails. So those thoughts lead to thoughts about all the times that I didn't look good in a piece of clothing, or who do I think I am, or the time somebody said I was ugly or fat. Like it just, it snowballs if you don't get hold of it. And in that moment, because I was in this homework of not doing any of that, I thought, oh my gosh, there is a very nasty person living inside my head, and she is not nice to me, and she doesn't like me very much. And I realized, if we talk to other people the way we talk to ourselves, we wouldn't really have any friends because nobody would ever want to be around us.
Yeah.
And it's a practice because it is so automatic. But the thing that I've really come to realize is it's not the thought of I'm worthless that you need to focus on. You need to focus on that one first. But that's just step one. We want to look at the thought that started that thought, and the thought that started that thought. The cascade of thoughts go all the way back to this original thought. And that's the one we need to look for and ferret out. Those typically come from our childhood experiences where we made a decision in a moment about ourselves as a result of our environment. And we were too young to know any better. We were doing the best we could. We need to have grace and forgiveness for our inner child that did the best that she or he could in that moment. And that's what's really running the show. That original thought, that last thought, you're too fat to eat any food in here. That comes from a long line of thoughts, a genealogy, an ancestry of thoughts. And so we want to be keeping an eye out for the current ones so that they can be red flags to see where we need to go looking for those previous thoughts. And when you're ready for this journey, things will show up to support you. People, conversations, YouTube videos, audio books. I want to share a book I'm reading right now. Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I was told, I would swear that my friend Melissa told me about this book. She insists she's never heard of it. So I'm going to say, I'm giving her credit, and it was divine that I have this book. It's called It's Not Your Money, and it's by Tosha Silver. And this book is about how if you release your hold and your need and your worry and your fear and your anxiety and stress about money, and give all of that to your higher intelligence, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, that you will actually have more by releasing your need to control it, because the universe, I'm just going to call it the universe is way smarter, has a bigger picture understanding, way more magical and powerful and creative than you. And so you'll end up with more. And I'm just in the beginnings of this book, but I have to say, I want everybody to read this book. It's life affirming, it's life changing. And I decided January 1st, I didn't pick a word, but I always pick a concept of something I want to transform this year. And so this year, 2022, what I'm transforming is my relationship with money. Because my relationship with money is I'll never be rich. My relationship with money is it's hard to earn money. And what I discovered this year in doing all this work is my other relationship with money is there will always be something that will come along to take my money. So no matter how much I have, I'll never have enough because I'll get an emergency or a medical thing or a fire or nothing like that ever happened to me. But there's like this horrible fear that even if I had $1 million in the bank, something would come along and take it. So that doesn't even matter. Why should I bother working hard for money if it's just going to be taken from me? Like that's a huge realization that was holding me back. I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah.
And so this book came along right at the perfect time because it's in part of the conversation. But that's what I mean when I say, if you start that journey, resources and wisdom and guidance will show up. You just need to trust and have faith that you do deserve all that life has to offer so it can come to you. and that you were created with the ability to achieve it, you can have it all.
Mm-hmm. You absolutely can. And I love what your dad says, and like that mantra that you have been able to bestow on yourself, but others, and now everyone watching too. Because I do think it comes from a core, the thought process we have, whatever it is around food, money, looks, anything that comes along, but really even starting a business too, the doubt that we might have, the hesitation or resistance to moving forward. And especially if there's a blockage, it's not going to allow you to move forward, especially how you feel about yourself. Because if you look at a lot of successful people, even if their journey in the beginning, there was maybe a lack of self-worth or self-belief, but maybe they started to believe in themselves. Somebody started to believe in them too. They had that support, but really it comes from within, and knowing that you can do it no matter what happens. But I think that's such a pivotal aspect of it. And I want to go back to, because I know you said you journaled a lot and wrote, and I know you've been working on something, if we can share it, but you've been writing your first novel, which is incredible. I remember when you were starting, but I would love for you to share that journey with us as well.
Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much for asking. Anytime I have the opportunity to talk about my book, I will, even though it's not finished yet. So I have these epic dreams. I have dreams that repeat and the story continues. They happen in the same locations. The characters show back up like over years of time. They're very visual. They're very exciting. They have lots of plot twists. I mean, my dreams are epic. I have no idea why. And I've always thought to myself, boy, if I could harness my dreams and put them on paper, I'd be a best-selling author. Movies would be made. Celebrities would want to star in them. I'd be the next JK, right?
There you go.
But how do I do that? I wake up and it's like this. For the visual of it, I'm like trying to, I can't, I just kind of am left with that feeling you have after a movie. You can't really remember all the specifics, but you know how it made you feel, and you know the whole general thing, but you can't, it's not like you could write the script after you see the movie once. Mm-hmm. So I was talking to a couple different people, including a medium on Clubhouse. Mm-hmm. You know, she was doing, I think you were the reason I went into that room. I saw you were in there. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. Let's see what happens. And she calls me up to do a question. And I asked the question. I told her about my epic dreams and that I really wanted to be able to write them down. She said, you just have to say you're ready and it'll be there. You just have to say you're ready and it'll be there. Mm-hmm. I also have a personal advisor that I'm related to. So I get I demand lots of advice from her. And right around that same time, she said, there's something ready to come through if you're ready to receive it. Okay, great. So I had a morning where it was like 3 a.m. and Wayne Dyer said in his book, I Can See Clearly Now, if you wake up around 3 to 4 a.m., that's when your most inspired time of day is. It's when your thoughts are clearest. Some religions say it's actually the thinnest part of the veil between the two worlds, spiritual and physical. Mm-hmm. If you can wake up and actually get out of bed, you should write. Just write and see what comes out. And that always stuck with me when he said that in his book. Mm-hmm. So at 3 a.m., it was February 4th or so of 2020, I believe. Mm-hmm. I had this feeling and I was like, oh, it's cold. It's winter. I'm not dressed. I don't really want to get up. I'm too tired. It's 3 a.m, for God's sake, you know? Mm-hmm. And my body actually pulled me out of bed. I had this feeling like right in my solar plexus and down in my gut, mm-hmm. like there was this moth flapping its wings against the top of my torso, trying to like fly to get me, like actually lift me out of bed.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to. And then my dog comes up and says, you know, she does this thing where she'll just lightly scratch my arm to let her into the covers because it's cold and she wants to be under the covers burrowed at the bottom of the bed. Don't judge me. We sleep with our pets.
I do too.
And okay, somebody out there's judging us, but we don't care.
It's okay.
It's okay. And so she, at that moment, scratched my arm to let her in. So I had to pull the cover up to let her in. Okay, I'm like, so now my body's trying to get out of bed and the covers are off me. What more excuses do I have?
None.
So I got out of bed and the first thing I did was I wanted to record that experience because it was very powerful and I didn't want to forget it. So first I wrote that. And then I wrote this one little passage, and it was like I could see the movie scene in my head. And if I turned my head, I could describe what I was seeing. And then I could turn my head like a camera, looking at the different parts of the room. And so I was just describing what I was seeing. And it was like a paragraph this long in Word. You know, it wasn't that big. It was a small passage. And when I finished it, I read it back and I was intrigued. It was way better writing than I could ever do myself. I promise you, I do not write as well as this book is written. And it was compelling, and I wanted to know more. I wanted to read more. So long story short, I've been writing it on and off since then. At the beginning, I probably wrote 50,000. I wrote 50,000 words in 30 days. I didn't mean to. I just, every morning that I woke up, naturally, I got up and I wrote for about an hour, hour and a half. I was very tired in those days. And then I did NaNoWriMo in November of that year. And I wrote another 50,000 words, and I've been writing it off and on. So I have about 160,000 word novel. It's unedited. But what I love is that I get to hear the story as it comes out. And I get to learn about the characters as they come on the page. I have no idea what's going to happen next. I am not writing this book. I will not take credit for the writing of it. It is channeled. I am clear about that. There is something I learned called pantsers. It's a writing style, and it basically means you fly by the seat of your pants. You don't do an outline. You don't create characters. You don't know what it's going to happen. Stephen King writes like that. This feels like more than that. Because when I've tried to write without being centered about it, it's terrible. It's like, oh, this, I don't even know what I'm talking about. So I'm clear this book is a novel that is meant to entertain and also educate, because there's a lot of stuff that I've learned over the years that's in there as well. And I'm excited for it to get done and get out into the world. And my goal is to have it out and published by the end of this year.
Ooh. Well, we can't wait. And once it is live, after this goes live, we will link it below so everyone can read it too.
Excellent.
Perfect. But I love that. I love that you just really listen to your intuition too. Like, you could have stayed in bed that morning in February of 2020 and not gotten up, but it spoke to you. You were able to just trust yourself, trust your instincts, and allowing yourself to write. And even if it's being channeled through, still you are doing it. You did the work. You allowed yourself to just stay consistent with it. And I think that's a huge part of entrepreneurship, as well as staying consistent and taking responsibility for the actions we take day in, day out. So I'm curious, how is taking 100% responsibility in all areas of your life, how has that given you total and complete freedom in your life?
Well, it's everything. And it's the complete opposite of the way I used to live. Because I used to blame my outside forces, luck, circumstance for everything I had. It made me a really jealous person. Like, how come she gets to have that life? How come he gets to make that much money? How come they have so much of this or that I want? Where's mine? Why don't I deserve it? And it goes right back to that self-worth conversation. I don't deserve it. Yeah. And I kind of knew that. I believed that I didn't deserve it, but it's hard to take ownership of that when you're inside of it. And so it turned, it created a very jealous and resentful person on the inside. That's not how I appeared on the outside. What's interesting about my journey is I appear to not have changed over the years, but it used to be a show I would put on. I was like a professional actor in my life, and now it's authentic. And that's why I can now pay it forward. And back then I really couldn't, because I was faking my way through it. I wasn't really authentically doing the work. When I take responsibility for my role in things, how I show up, how I leave people when I speak, how they're left, how they're affected by my words. If I take responsibility for my business, 100%. If I take responsibility for my marriage, 100% responsibility. it gives me complete and total freedom, which sounds weird because it sounds like that would be a lot of work, but actually by having 100% responsibility and knowing there's nobody out there affecting my results, only me, well, now I can do something about it. I'm not a victim of my life. I'm not at the mercy of my circumstances. And it's not natural for us to want to do this. We want to see who's to blame. And even when we're accountable, we don't want to be accountable for all of it. It's like, I'll be accountable for my piece, but you better be accountable for your piece. What if I was 100% responsible for both of our pieces?
Right.
It means that I can actually be in a space where I can help us create something more powerful than if we're both trying to figure out who's to blame and whose fault it is. And I've used it in business. I've used it in my team. I've used it in my marriage, my family, and it always comes out better because, you know, typically we avoid responsibility. And when everybody's avoiding responsibility, nobody can win.
Absolutely. And, you know, just speaking of like responsibility, when there's like right and wrong or like getting in that mindset can really be damaging to business relationships, family, with your spouse as well, just all those aspects. But giving up that belief that something needs to be done right and you have to do it yourself sometimes as a leader, and because you have that result, you know, you can do it, you've done it a million times, but really being able to give up that belief. What has that been like for you?
Freeing. It's weird to say that because when I was first taught this concept, I was in a 2-year leadership training program. And I was very resistant to it. I was like, well, what about him? What about them? What are they taking responsibility for? You know, like really indignant. Yeah. But it's freeing when you surrender to it. And that's actually surrender is something I've been practicing a lot. This book, I'm sure this book by Tosha Silver, It's Not Your Money, came into my life because I have been saying in my meditation, right before I start my meditation, I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. Surrendering is about as hard as taking responsibility 100%. Because it's like, well, then who's in charge? I'm not in charge. Well, like, how am I supposed to trust that it's all going to work out? So surrender, release. It's been freeing, really.
No, absolutely. When we are surrendering and giving up, more things come into our lap, especially like even with hearing no and just looking at other opportunities, we're able to like change the lens on how we're looking at it so we can have a new perspective, new knowledge, and be able to take different steps too. There's so many more questions I want to ask you, Trista, but I know we have a little bit of time left. But before we do, I would love to hear more about your podcast. I know you talk about license plates and kind of getting a little deeper into that and what it really is about.
Yes. So I do have a podcast. It's called Trista's Plate Story Podcast, PL8STORY, like a license plate would spell it. And it is all about the story behind vanity or personalized license plates. I had this thought that people choose these vanity plates. There's a reason. It's only 6 to 8 characters. You chose them very specifically. So why did you choose it? And when I started asking people the stories behind their plates, I realized that it's not just a story. It's a window into who they are. Sometimes it's business and it's, you know, them promoting their company, but a lot of times it's like how they find their inner strength. It's a reminder from a passed on loved one. It's something really powerful. So I get to share the stories behind license plates, which is just the door opening to human interest stories. So a lot of people have described it as Humans of New York, but in a podcast and with license plates as the focus. I love talking to people just like you do, learning about who they are, what makes them tick, their goals, their dreams, what they've learned in life, how they've overcome. I think that the lessons in stories are so valuable for others. And I love being able to share those.
Oh, love it. There's so much there. And it's true. It's really taking a lens into their world, what it means to them and understanding that too. And it's just bringing awareness. And you're right. Stories do tell so much more about the lessons, the ups, downs, and everything in between of that. But if you could leave us with 2 to 3 tips for business owners, entrepreneurs that you've learned along the journey of entrepreneurship, what would they be?
Only 2 to 3.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I know it's tough. It's tough. I can do it. So the first thing I would say is your self-worth determines your net worth.
Mhm.
If you are not where you want to be in life, in business, etc., take a look at how much you think you're worth and start there, because the best goal statement, vision board, course, book will not overcome how you see yourself. That's where the work really begins. That's tip 1. Tip 2, follow up. It is the thing we all skip. It's the thing we don't take enough time for. I heard some great advice from a mentor of mine recently. You know, the 80-20 rule.
Mhm.
So 80% of your time should be spent on 20% of the activities that are going to make you the most impact with whatever your business is.
Right.
80% of the action steps you take should be follow up. 20% should be new action. 80% of your action producing time should be doing follow up. So get yourself some sort of follow up structure so you can track things, because if you're not tracking it, you will miss opportunities. And we need 7 to 12 touches to get that final deal done, typically with most transactions, most people. That's tip 2. And tip 3, get on to short form video. This is maybe a little surprising from out of nowhere because we haven't talked about this at all. But this is where business is being done today. This is where credibility is growing.
Mhm.
If you can get onto, I don't care if it's Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, pick a platform, start creating, speak from what you know, share authentically your stories, your experiences, the lessons you've learned, the successes you've had, the challenges you've faced, the failures you've had.
Mhm.
And let the world see the whole 360-degree view of you and what you bring to the table as whatever it is you are doing in life. And you may not end up an influencer, but you'll change a lot of lives and create a lot of results and income for yourself in the process. That's tip 3.
Powerful as usual. Thank you, Trista, for sharing those. And you're right. Short form video is so huge right now, especially just if you're growing your business, just getting it out there more, because word of mouth is wonderful, but it's also expanding that if you are trying to grow your business and scale it as well. So thank you for sharing that. And Trista has amazing reels, so you got to check them out. We'll definitely link everything below. But
watch them all a lot of times.
Just leave it on repeat. But with that being said, I've been so enjoying this conversation, but we're going to jump into the rapid fire questions if you're ready for them.
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. The first one is, who is your hero?
My dad. My dad is my hero. His hero was Superman, because he could walk around in life and not be noticed, but he had superpowers that he could wield to help others. And he's passed now, but he is my superhero.
Yes. Amazing man. What motivates you to work smarter?
I am achievement oriented. I'm always looking to achieve the next thing, learn the next thing, etc. So that's really what motivates me, is how good can I have it? How good can I help others have it? I am in it for everyone to win, whatever winning looks like to them. And that motivates me as well.
Yes. No, absolutely. It's the way to go. What is the most daring thing you've ever done?
I don't know. I've done a lot of daring things. I've never jumped out of an airplane. I've never, I've never been a stunt double. I've never done anything like super dangerous. But I will say, showing up authentically without apology and being willing to accept whatever the response and reaction is from others is probably the most daring thing that I do. I don't get to do it every day, but every day I can do it. I'm up to do it, and I'm in the mental fortitude to do it. That's how I like to show up.
And that's the way to show up. I mean, that's where people are able to have the permission to show up as themselves when we show up as ourselves.
Exactly.
So I know you've talked about a couple books, but what is the most recent book that you finished?
The most recent book that I finished is called How to Become Money. I told you this year it's all about money, and I read things that are that are development. This is by a man, excuse me, named Gary Douglas, and he created a program called Access Consciousness. And this is actually a program that he did. It was a channeled class that was transcribed into a book. Mm-hmm. And it's about how money is energy, just like everything. Mm-hmm. And if you can get away from, if you can release all of the attachment and the tangible stuff that we have around money and treat it like energy, like breath, then it can be abundant and unlimited.
Well, I'm definitely, now hearing it twice, I need to read it. That's my sign from the universe.
There you go.
You know, always tested me. But so if you were to have a movie about your life thus far, outside of your book, or novel, I should say, who would play you?
So when a long time ago, there was a movie out called The Illusionist. Do you remember this movie?
Yeah, I do.
And the woman that played in it was Jessica Biel. She was the lead woman. Mm-hmm. And my aunt and cousin said, she looks just like you in this movie, Trista. She just reminds us of you, her mannerisms, and I can't see it. But I figure she's a huge actress, amazing talent, and beautiful to boot. So she's my girl.
Done. We'll call her.
Yes.
Let her know. She's a new role.
Right.
She's an amazing actress.
She is.
So I'm curious, what is your favorite family recipe, whether it's traditional or you just like to make it together?
I'm going to say Thanksgiving. That's my answer. Thanksgiving, the turkey, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce is not to be skipped. Mm-hmm. When I was growing up, there was a lot of change and upheaval and turmoil, and I moved 24 times in 18 years, just like a lot of not stability in my youth. And the one thing that had a trajectory all the way through into my adulthood was Thanksgiving at my grandparents' house. And it was very traditional. It had the big turkey and all the fixins. My grandmother made this special recipe of spare ribs. They were kind of like an Asian, like Chinese food restaurant, but she made them herself from scratch. Wow. And that is, I've grieved Thanksgiving ever since it stopped. And she passed recently as well. And so I would say Thanksgiving is my favorite recipe.
Thank you so much for being transparent and vulnerable. And I know how much she means to you as well. And I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with that too, but thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Of
course. So the next question is, what is your favorite way to spend a day off? So if you're not working, helping all the amazing individuals, coaches, business owners, entrepreneurs, everybody under the sun, really helping them, what is your favorite way to spend that day off?
My days are really tightly scheduled. They're pretty back to back. I'm on Zoom a lot. And so I would say doing nothing. Waking up when I want to, meditating for as long as I feel like, making breakfast and having it with my husband, taking our dog for a walk, going for a drive, just stuff that doesn't require a calendar or other people or responsibilities, or creating and generating on purpose to be a contribution to myself and my business, my team, my clients. That's what I would say.
I love it. Yes, definitely necessary, and taking that time to really recharge so you have all the energy for that crazy schedule of yours, because I know it is crazy.
But I put everything on that calendar, so I'm not complaining. I created it. I'm 100% responsible for my busyness.
Done. So what is something an outsider wouldn't know about your industry, everything that you are up to and you do?
I think that a lot of people assume that the businesses that I work with the online entrepreneur kind of platforms that I work with, it looks similar to a lot of different industries out there. It seems sort of like it might be drop shipping, like it might be affiliate marketing, like it could maybe be franchise. Is it a multi-level network marketing kind of company? And I'm in an industry of one, which is why it's kind of difficult to explain, and I don't really get into it on interviews. I do a lot of coaching and mindset for people, and we work in the people I work with as a team, we work in a platform that is so unique and so valuable and so unknown. You know, they used to have the TV guide, the best show on television that you're not watching. That's this, but for online business. And it's a powerful tracking system that allows people to get paid for what they earn. And you're familiar with it as well. And you know, it's something that is an industry of one and really cannot be beat or even compared to anywhere else.
100% agree. Beautifully explained. Because it's
thanks.
really hard to explain.
Oh,
it is. But I love it too. But Trista, I've been enjoying this conversation so much, and I so appreciate you being on. But before I let you go, where can people find you, find everything you're up to? We're going to link all your links below, but if you could let us know too.
Yes. So iwokeupawesome.com is my main website. And my name, Trista Polo, is everywhere. That's my username for all of it. So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere you want to look for me, just put my name in and I'll probably pop up. And then, of course, my podcast is on all of the platforms. And you can also follow me on Book Talk. We didn't talk about this, but Book Talk is a huge platform for authors. So I've just recently started an account there. And that will allow me, when the book is out, to share everything about it there.
Love it. Well, Trista, again, I just want to acknowledge you for being so vulnerable, transparent about your journey and everything you've gone through, but really the ups, downs, the peaks, the valleys, the mountains, everything in between. Everything.
I've had so much fun, Caroline. You are such an amazing person in my life. You bring so much light, so much wisdom. I love that you now have a platform where you're not only bringing other people to light and showing what's possible from their perspective, but you're peppering in plenty of your own. You have so much to give and contribute. And I'm so happy you're sharing your voice in this way, because you have huge impact on my life. You've made such a difference for me. And it's such a pleasure, not only to be here to talk to you today, but to work with you and be able to be part of your team as well.
Oh, you left me speechless, Trista. I felt that. I don't know what else to say, but I so appreciate you and love you, and so honored to have you on today so you can share your voice and your light with everyone, because it shines very bright in my life as well. But make sure to like, subscribe, comment below. What was the biggest takeaway from Trista? She had so many valuable nuggets and stories, but let us know. I'm sure she would love to see it as well. But we will see you on the next video.